Waiting. Yay. Hey, everybody. Oh, I can see you guys are starting to chat. That's so awesome. Welcome to day 3, episode 3. I'm so excited to get started. Thank you all so much for coming. As we get started and we wait for some people to pop in, I thought it would be kind of fun maybe to have you guys just pop in the comments if you'd like anything that you're currently reading or watching that you're loving that is helping you through the current quarantine and everything like that. So if you want to pop in some recommendations to other people of books that you love or things that you're watching right now that you love that you think might comfort some other people or be interesting to them while they're going through it, go ahead and pop those in. Hey, everybody. Oh, I'm so excited to read the chat. So I've got a few things to say before we get started. So one, let's talk for just a moment about flexibility with this story, because as I have mentioned to you guys before, this was something that I started a long time ago. If you're new here, I am reading an original story called The Witch's Key. This has never been published before, and I'm actually editing it and fleshing out the writing as I go. So like last night, for example, I was working on episode 3. And as I was working on today's episode, I have an outline for exactly where I want to make these breaks, because obviously telling a story when you're doing it live and you're reading it is a little different than just putting it out in ebook and, having people consume it in that way. So that being said, I had an idea of where I wanted to get in the story by day 3. And it was going to be probably the biggest, it was definitely going to be the biggest twist in the story so far. However, as I was working through it, I've been trying to keep the word count between about 2,500 and 3,500 words per day, which might not really mean a lot to some of you, but where it'll take me about 15 to 25 minutes to read it. And when I got to about 2,600 words yesterday, I realized I was nowhere close to that twist. So tomorrow will be the part where I thought I was going to be by episode 3. So what that basically means for you guys is I might not be done reading through this story in 12 days. So I had planned on going live for 6 days, and then Sunday would be a recorded video, pre-recorded video, and then doing another 6 days. As it stands right now, I'm just going to tell you, I will continue reading the story until it is done, but it might take more like 15 or 16 episodes instead of just 12. So if you're enjoying it, hopefully that will be great news for you. The only promise that I can make at this point is just that I will keep up with this and continue to put it out this way until it's finished. I'm just not sure exactly how long it's going to take. So hopefully there will be excitement for that and not like, oh man, I was hoping this would be done in 12 episodes, because, you just have to go with it. And those of you that are familiar with my writing and familiar with me know that I do not, I can't like force myself to a certain type of writing or a certain type of word count. I can't force a book out if it's not coming easily. And I'm just not the type of writer who can do that kind of thing. I have to follow the muse, and most of writers are like that. So we're just going to follow the muse and keep going. So yay, I'm seeing at least some some excitement about that instead of disappointment. So thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And just as an extra, I would like to know if you guys want to pop it in the comments, if you would also like to see this readings compiled also as audio. So put out in a podcast that you could just listen to it. If you think that would be cool, also coming out at the same time, I might decide to try to work on that too. So a little bit of flexibility, and we're just kind of rolling with it. So that's that. Another thing that I have for you today, I did not get to put this up on my blog today, and I was hoping to, but it will go up tomorrow. So if you've been following along for a bit, this is the 3rd episode of my book, The Witch's Key, and I'm reading each chapter aloud or each episode aloud every day at 4 p.m. Also, I am putting the actual chapter that you can read yourself over on my blog, as well as Wattpad, which is like an app for reading books. So you can find those links in the description box below the video if you would like to go and read those as well, or if you're behind and you want to go read those episodes real quick and then catch up with today. But also something that I love to do over on my blog sometimes is to put cover reveals, and I love to put free wallpapers out. So I've been doing this a while, and my Coven moderator, Christabel, reminded me that I did a bunch of books last year, but then I didn't finish all of them. So what I would love to put up for you tomorrow, and I will remind you about this tomorrow when it goes up, is a free wallpaper that you can use for desktop, laptop, and tablet and phone that is going to be of my cover, not the Witch's Key. I can do the Witch's Key next week, but I'm going to put up the new cover, the brand new cover for my book, Death's Awakening. So Death's Awakening is the first book in my Eternal Sorrows trilogy, which also just happens to be like a global pandemic story. Maybe hit a little bit too close right now to home, but if you're interested in that kind of thing, it's a really fun like witches and zombies genre mashup. And I got brand new covers for this because I'm working on the third book in the series. The first two are published, but the third one is not finished yet. So I am just going to show you guys real quick on my tablet the brand new cover for Death's Awakening, and I will put this up on the blog tomorrow. And it might be kind of backwards. I'm not sure because of the way the video, it's going to be backwards, but you guys can at least get a chance to see the basic cover art for it. And I will put this up on my blog tomorrow. This is cover art done by Raven, who does also my Shadow Demon Saga covers. And these are amazing. All three of the new covers for this are really, really good. So I'm going to be putting up some wallpaper of this new Death's Awakening cover. Oh, it's not backwards for you guys. It's backwards for me on my screen, but hopefully it's not for you guys. This cover is amazing, and I know this isn't the best view of it, but I'll put this up on the blog tomorrow for you guys to see and have some free wallpaper. I'm also going to be setting this book free when I upload the new wallpaper. So if you're interested in this book, don't grab it yet because it's going to be free probably within the next week, and I'll let you guys know about that too. All right. So one more other thing that I want to say before we start reading today is that there are a few other of my friends who are doing some serialized type books like this. My friend SM Rain, she writes urban fantasy mostly, but she also recently has been writing some contemporary romance. So she has a contemporary romance that she's putting up on her Patreon. Also, my friend Melissa Marr is putting up kind of a post-apocalyptic novel called Outlaw Annie, and that's also going up chapter by chapter on her Patreon. And then my friend Kelly Armstrong, who you guys might know as a famous urban fantasy author as well, she is writing a story called oh no, I forgot the name of it. Something about curse. Lucky Curse. That I don't know if that's right. But I have actually put the links to all three of those stories that will be coming out chapter by chapter into the description box if you're interested in reading those as well. So just to let you know, and if while I'm reading or right now you want to pop something into the comments to let people know what you've been reading or discovering, please do that so we all kind of have some things to entertain us during this time. All right, guys. So who's ready for chapter 3? If you are, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to my channel if you have not. If you hit the thumbs up button, it's going to be a way for YouTube to show more people. So don't forget to do that. It will be super helpful to me. And here we go. We are going to read chapter 3. I forgot to write like a little blurb for last time or previously on, but previously on The Witch's Key, our heroine Lenny went to a coffee shop / bakery called Serbine with her new friends. And there she learned about the fact that there are 4 girls who have gone missing in the last 6 months. And it just so happens that the mysterious Kai Richards also moved to town around 6 months ago. So that's kind of where we left off with them in the cafe. All right. Chapter 3, Like Any Good Witch. As the others talked, I watched. If anyone was paying attention, they would just think I was your average teen with a major crush staring at the object of her desire. At worst, they would think I was a stalker. I could live with that, as long as no one suspected what I was really up to. Basically, I needed his DNA, which sounded a lot more disgusting than it was. Since I'd never even spoken to him before, and since he was obviously keeping an eye on me, I needed to be sneaky about it. So I watched his every move from the corner of my eye. I did my best to be discreet about it, but I nearly jumped out of my seat the minute I saw him step into a back room and take a sip of a drink with a white straw. "You okay?" Brandy asked. I have to run to the bathroom," I said. "Be right back." I started toward the front of the cafe, and Peyton called out after me, the bathroom's the other way. I'll find it, I called, waving my hand over my head. With any luck, they'd go back to their discussion about Peyton's epic birthday party plans coming up, and they'd forget all about me for a minute. Thanks to my spell from this morning, most people took no notice of me at all. I was just a blur in the crowd. Kai, of course, seemed to notice me just fine, but he was back on the registers now, and the cafe was swamped. In fact, there were so many people inside, it was probably some kind of fire code violation. Wall-to-wall teenagers hopped up on sugar and first day of school nerves. Slowly, I inched my way closer to the door, marked employees only, and watched the patterns of anyone who came in and out of that door. From what I could tell, there wasn't an actual kitchen in this cafe. There was just a back storeroom where employees could go to take a break or grab things to restock the main room, like straws, napkins, flavorings for the coffee, stuff like that. Besides the manager, who Olive had called Melvin, there were 4 other employees working. Olive and one other girl were making coffees and packaging cupcake orders. They were also managing orders coming from the tables. Kai was obviously on the register for now, and there was a younger guy bussing tables and restocking the napkin stations. The manager and the young guy were the 2 who went into the back room the most, so I kept an eye on both of them from my hiding spot at the end of the bakery counter. I waited for a moment when the kid had just started to empty the trash, and the manager was dealing with a couple of very obviously upset girls complaining about the quality of their iced coffees. I bent down as if I needed to tie my shoes and whispered, "Tacitus." Casting a spell on my boots was likely overkill, but hey, I'd been denied the use of my magic for the past 3 months. Now that I had my key back, I was going to use it. The simple spell made my boots silent. So between that and the spell I'd cast on myself this morning, I was able to very quickly and easily slip through the employees-only door, grab a napkin, and lift Kai's straw from his drink. With what I'd like to think of as ninja-like skills, I slipped the wrapped straw into my bag and got the heck out of there. No one suspected a thing, and I made my way back to the table with a smile on my face. "That must have been some bathroom break," Brandy said. "You were gone for like 20 minutes. "No, seriously?" I asked. It hadn't seemed that long. "Okay, maybe 10, but still," she said. "You missed all the good talk about the party. I know you're new, but trust me when I say that Peyton's parties are epic." I did my best to get into the conversation because I genuinely was happy about having found some new friends so quickly, but all I could think about was getting home and casting a spell on that straw. By nightfall, I hoped to know exactly what kind of magical being this Kai Richards really was. "Lenny, is that you?" Martin appeared in the grand foyer an instant after I walked through the door. "No, it's one of the other people who lives here," I said with a smile. "I brought you a present." I presented him with a regal gold and navy box that sported the Sir Bean logo, but it was the cupcake inside that I knew he would love. "It's lemon meringue, your favorite," I said. "Apparently, one of my new friend's mothers is a cupcake goddess. Have you ever tried one?" "Can't say that I have," Martin said. "Come with me to the kitchen. We can split this and talk about your day. I've been dying to hear how things went." "Better than anticipated, I presume?" "Much better." I stared longingly at the stairs leading up to my room. I desperately wanted to get up there and cast that spell, but I owed Martin a conversation. Plus, I did want to tell him about my new friends. We made a couple sandwiches and cut up some fresh fruit before sitting down at the ancient walnut table in the kitchen. There was a formal dining room in this house that probably rivaled the Queen's, but we never used it. It was way too cozy in the kitchen, which is where you could find us most of the time when we were together. We talked about my day, my use of the mirror, and our plans to order some cell phones. So, just out of curiosity, have you ever known a normal human who was immune to one of your spells? I asked. Uncle Martin shook his head. "Can't say that I have. Why do you ask?" I explained about Peyton and the invisibility spell. "I mean, obviously, I didn't make myself entirely invisible. I just made it so that people wouldn't notice me unless I was speaking to them," I said. "But she just walked right up to me and started talking. It didn't even work on her at all." "Interesting indeed," he said, scratching his chin with an index finger. "Are you quite sure she's human?" I shrugged. I didn't sense anything different about her. I'm not perfect at identification yet, but I can usually sense when someone isn't fully human. The corners of Martin's lips twitched a bit, and I leaned toward him, my chin in my hands. "And what's that about?" I asked. "You're trying your hardest not to laugh at me, aren't you?" He did a very good job of controlling himself, but I could tell. "You're talented just like your father was at your age," he said, "but you still have so much to learn. There are mystical beings you've never even heard of in this world. There are those who can cloak their magic so completely you would never know it until the moment they crept up behind you and put a dagger of ice in your heart. I wouldn't expect there to be a lot of that sort at the local high school, but it's possible this girl has a touch of magical blood in her lineage that made her immune to that one spell. She's likely harmless." Harmless, sure. When it came to Peyton, I believed him. But what about Kai? And what about these missing girls? I desperately wanted to ask him about both subjects, but if he told me to leave it alone, I'd have to listen to him. In this case, I figured it was better to do my own investigating and ask for permission later. "Thank you for dinner. I'd better get upstairs and start on my homework," I said. "Homework on the first day?" he asked. Barbaric. "Besides, we haven't had a chance to split this cupcake yet." "Oh, I had one already. That one's all for you," I said. "Good night, Uncle." "Good night, dear one. I'll see you in the morning." I rushed up to my room faster than anyone who was simply looking forward to homework. I had a much more important project to work on. I fished the straw out of my bag. It was still wrapped in the napkin, so hopefully any DNA Kai had transferred to the actual straw was still there. This was my first reconnaissance mission, and I didn't want to screw it up. I disappeared into my large closet and rifled through some of my father's books. It took longer than expected to find the book on identifying magical creatures, but I finally found the spell I was looking for. Over the past few years, my parents had taught me a lot, mostly by showing me what they were working on. I was smart and I caught on pretty quickly, but Martin was right. There was still so much I didn't know. I'd seen my parents use this particular magical spell a few times in the past to verify a creature's identity, so I was hopeful I would be able to replicate it on my own. I sat down on the floor in front of my spell cabinet and took a deep, centering breath. When I felt ready, I lifted my finger to the silver key I wore next to my mother's locket. With clear intention, the spell cabinet doors swung open, revealing all of my tools. Like any good witch, I'd been collecting magical items since I was about 5 years old. When he or she is ready, every good witch is gifted with a spell cabinet by the Witches' Council, and it is up to her to decide what she wants to fill it with. Within reason, of course. Certain types of magic were forbidden until you'd unlocked the next key. Over the years, I'd chosen to fill mine with various herbs, salts, gemstones, and spell components we'd found on our travels. I also had a section at the top that housed my favorite deck of tarot cards, a small cauldron, a mortar and pestle, and a sage smudge, naturally. I pulled the miniature cauldron down from the top shelf, along with the mortar and pestle and a handful of herbs. It took me a while to locate my vial of melted snow from the Arctic, but I finally found it hiding in the back behind a dragon's fang. I took all the tools to my desk in the corner and unwrapped the straw I'd stolen from Sir Bean. This better work. I read the spell's instructions about 15 more times before I started mixing it all together. When the base ingredients were all in place, I used a small pair of embroidery scissors with a skull on them to cut off the top of the straw, right where Kai's lips would have touched it. Konyosko. My hand trembled as I let the straw fall into the mixture below. Excitement bubbled inside me as the spell did its work. The white smoke that poured from the cauldron looked exactly like it was supposed to. Now, I just had to wait a few minutes for the spell to identify Kai's origins. When that happened, the smoke would change colors: red for vampire, orange for were, pink for fae, and so on. I had a list of smoke colors and their corresponding creature here in the spell book, so it was only a matter of time. Only time was ticking, and the smoke hadn't changed colors. I tapped my foot against the wood floors. When I'd watched my parents do this, the smoke had changed much faster. After 10 minutes, I started losing hope. The smoke was dissipating. Soon, there would be nothing left. I read through the spell again and shook my head. I'd done everything right. I hadn't missed an ingredient or said the wrong word. It should have worked. Disappointment fell over me like a shadow as the white smoke went out entirely, leaving nothing but a pile of ash inside the cauldron. When my alarm went off the next day, I was ready for it. I'd hardly slept at all the night before. Instead, I'd tossed and turned, dreaming about the night my parents died and all the things I wish I'd done differently. I'd learned months ago that the best way to get through nights like that was to just stay awake. So a few hours earlier, I'd pulled out my ancient laptop, connected to Martin's base level Wi-Fi, and done a little research on the missing girls. There wasn't a lot to learn, though. It was always possible the police were holding back on what they knew, but according to the local press, there were no leads and no real clues to follow. The girls' families had all just woken up one day to find them gone. No note, no evidence of a struggle, nothing missing or out of place. They'd just disappeared. At first, there had been some speculation that the girls had just run away from home. That's what people always said when teen girls went missing. But after the third teen disappeared, people started to take it more seriously. At this point, it seemed like everyone in town was just waiting for them to find the bodies. I shuddered at the thought of it. I wanted to believe all 4 of those girls would be found alive, and if there was anything I could do to help, I at least wanted to try, which is why I didn't say a word about it to Martin. Instead, I planned to do some extra research at school today and see what I could find out from my new friends. There had to be some clues the police were either overlooking or that they thought weren't important, things I would recognize that they would think were trivial or unrelated. I had to at least try. Leaving early today, Martin asked, just catching me as I walked out the door. You haven't even had breakfast. I'll grab something at school, I said. I'm going to do some work in the library before the first bell. I might be late again today, too. I'll try to make it home for dinner. Well, that's quite the change from yesterday, he said with a smile. It's good to see you enjoying yourself. Have a nice day. Bye, I said. I stepped out with a smile on my face, but it was immediately wiped away by the sight of the dark-eyed guy standing on the sidewalk directly outside the gate of my uncle's house. Kai Richards not only knew what I was, he apparently also knew where I lived. We need to talk, he said. All right, guys, that is the end of episode 3. So fun. Okay, so you guys have any thoughts about what he is or what maybe is going on with Peyton? Hopefully there's some little things coming out. I saw a few little messages come up. Bacon cupcakes. I know I've never actually had one, but I have had a bacon donut before and it was delicious. This makes me wonder if good witches get this cabinet, what do bad witches get? That's a really good question. So it's fun to kind of read this. Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger. Always, 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 guys. Cliffhangers. It's going to be cliffhangers every single day. I apologize. Otherwise, it would just be a one-day story, right? Or it would be boring. This is just what we do. All right. So tomorrow we will read episode 4, and hopefully that will be what I would call the end of the first act. So if you're not a writer, you have no idea what that means, but it'll be the first major twist. Like I said at the beginning, if you're catching this a little bit late, I intended for today to be the first major twist of the story, but I wrote more than I expected. So this story might go a little bit longer than 2 weeks, and we're just going to stay flexible with it. Also, if you can, make sure that you hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this episode, and definitely subscribe to my channel if you can. I would love, love, love for you guys to subscribe and keep joining us. I will be going live with this story every single day for the next 2 weeks, except Sunday. You'll just get a pre-recorded video as I take a little bit of a break. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. It really, really means so much to me that you are here and that you are keeping on with us for sure. So hopefully, can it go on forever? Heidi, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. Please also, if you know of anyone who would enjoy this story and it would help them kind of have something to look forward to every day during this quarantine, please share it with them. And also, if you enjoy this story, I know that you would also love my story, Beautiful Demons, which is the first book in the Shadow Demon saga, and you can get that for free. pretty much everywhere books are sold. So the links are all down below. So thank you guys so much for coming. Tomorrow will be an even bigger cliffhanger. So be prepared. Bring popcorn. Hopefully it's going to be really fun, you guys. Thank you all so much for coming. A little bit of a shorter episode this time. So if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I'll stay and hang out for a few more minutes. Because it's only been about 25 minutes. So I would love to stay on for 30 minutes if you get a chance to pop a question in there. Podcast version for all your books. I know so many people ask about doing audiobooks because right now I only have 3 audiobooks and they're for the first 3 books in my Fair Hope series. But if you didn't know this, I am an indie author, which means that I am 100% self-published. I don't have a traditional publisher. I do all the work myself in terms of I find my own editors. I work with my own cover artist and I make all those decisions. But that also means that I pay for everything out of pocket to get it published. So doing ebooks is inexpensive because I can upload them for free and format them myself. But audiobooks, I have to pay the narrator, and that usually ends up being, between $2,000 to $5,000 per book. So it's a huge investment. When I have like a 10-book series, it could cost me about $50,000 to get those made into audio. So other than that, I could read them myself, which would be free, but I never really had thought about reading them myself until we did something like this. And then I was like, maybe I could read them myself. I don't know. I guess it's an interesting thing to say. I saw a question, are you planning on publishing this story afterwards? So yes, I think it would be fun to publish them just in case some people don't like the cliffhangers, just really have not wanted to, invest in a chapter by chapter story. There are some people, it just causes them too much anxiety. So yes, I would definitely love to publish this after. And I've even thought about maybe just going ahead and putting it up on pre-order for people that already know they want to buy it. And I just won't release it until after, because I would want to get it professionally edited, because right now I'm just kind of editing it myself. And usually it would go through a professional editor and a set of beta readers and everything else. So I could put it up on pre-order for anyone who wanted to either support the book and get the edited version after, or for people that aren't interested in getting it chapter by chapter. Let's see. Would love to have you on our podcast. Oh, Shannon, I'd love to do it. Let me know. Let's see. Good lesson in how to write a compelling story. Thank you so much, Christina. So are these episodes actually chapters? Like, was this chapter 4, or are there a few chapters in each episode? So I typically, if you read my books, you'll notice that I sometimes will have chapters that are only like 2 or 3 pages, if that's the pacing that I feel like it needs. And sometimes there will be chapters that are like really, really long, 20 or so pages. And I have some friends that are writers that are like, every chapter is 20 pages exactly. And I just don't write like that. I just kind of make breaks where I decide to. But I thought it wouldn't be a very good experience for you guys if I actually just like read for 5 minutes one day and 20 minutes a different day. So I'm calling these episodes instead of chapters. When I actually publish this, I probably will break it up. Whereas if there's like 16 episodes, I'm trying to keep them all to about 15 to 20 minutes of reading time. But when I publish it, it might be like 40 chapters. So not exactly correlating, but I'm just calling this episode 3. But when I publish it, it will probably be a slightly different breakup. How do you keep up with the changes you make on a story like this? I lost it. When you are constantly editing and releasing. That's a good question too, because my husband was saying last night when he was reading through the episode for today, he was like, "Oh, you need to go ahead and start a series Bible for this so you can keep track of all the little spell words she says and all of the little magic building and world building and stuff like that." I do have, for my Shadow Demon Saga, I have a pretty big series Bible that has like all the information to keep track of stuff. But with this, obviously I'm editing it as I go. So I can't like go back and add things in or change things around like I normally would do. Because normally, of course, I would write the entire rough draft and then edit it and then edit it again several times. So with this, I just kind of have an outline and a skeleton of a story, and then I'm adding to it as I go. So I'm just kind of going by memory, and I'm making notes I have a paper notebook that I'm just keeping a lot of notes in to remind myself about stuff. But I probably will be starting an actual series Bible for this so that I can keep track of any type of things that become story worthy, or like truth, or what you would call canon in a story, like things that are truth in a story. Thank you guys so much for the encouragement about reading my own books. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like you kind of want to have a professional actor or actress do it, but at the same time, maybe I could do it myself. I don't know. I love the incantations in the book. They're so good. I think it's kind of cool. Like I said yesterday too, it was like just kind of fun to explore a different kind of magic system than what I do in my Shadow Demon Saga. So it's kind of fun. Book readings YouTube series. That would be fun, actually. Melissa, you are so sweet. Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, please click the thumbs up because it does help. Dania, I don't know how you say that. Can you put up a book blurb? Yeah, I haven't actually written one. I think the only, let me make a note about that. The only like blurb that I kind of made was something along the lines of like, when several teen girls go missing in the town of, or when several teen girls go missing in Newcastle, the new witch in town might hold the key to their survival or something like that. I don't know. But that's not really a blurb. It's kind of just like a tagline. But I have to tell you, and if there are any other writers here, you can chime in too. I hate writing blurbs. I'm so bad at it. It takes me so long to do it. But I know it's important when people say, what's the story about, to have a blurb. So I have made a note, and yes, I will work on a blurb for you, as torturous as it can be for me, because I just can't do it. So how do you come up with the incantation words? So this is actually, it's Latin, but I don't know that I'm pronouncing it correctly. And so all I'm doing is just kind of saying that what I could do is just like go through Google Translate and pick out words that are similar to what I want to say. So if I'm sealing the door, I could maybe use the Latin word for seal or for close and stuff like that. So I'm just using Latin, but I don't know that I'm pronouncing it correctly. But I am using the Google Translate, what do you call it, pronunciation. So we'll see how it goes. When you're normally a writer, you don't have to know how to pronounce it. You just have to know how to spell it. So this is all kind of new for me too. So yes, that tagline is good. I need to give a little bit more than that too. Your daughter hates blurb writing too. It is really, really tough. I know. I hate it. It's really hard to do. Sent an email through your website. Awesome. Thank you so much. I would love to be on that podcast. Thank you so much. Indie Writers Rock. Yes. Awesome. All right, guys. Yay, 85 watching. So we've had about 100 people listening to the story every single day, and that makes me so happy. It's going to be a commitment, couple of weeks, but it would mean so much for me, you guys, to me, if you would come every single day and keep supporting me so that we keep having about 100 people here a day. It would really mean a lot. So I would love, love, love to have you guys here every single day. Keep coming back. And if you don't get a chance to watch it live, please come back and keep up with the story. Again, it will be posted here on YouTube. The replay will be here on YouTube, so you can feel free to share it or listen to it again. And also the actual text and chapters will be posted on my blog as well as on Wattpad, so you can read those either place, and the links are all in description below. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Your office is enjoying it. That is so cool, Beth. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, that is all we have for today. I don't want to keep it too much over 30 minutes. So thank you so much for showing up, and I will see you guys with episode for tomorrow. Bye.